Well, the high banks of Talladega, Alabama have long been a place where you can win the race from 35th on back. It's a place where you can make your own luck, but it's also a place where you can be at the whim of everyone else's. This is Talladega, Alabama, race 12 of the Area Truck Series season and the last race in the regular season before we eliminate everybody but the 12 playoff competitors. It's an 80-lap event here tonight, and this is where we'll say goodbye to all those that don't qualify for the playoffs and the HelloFresh 212. Hi, everybody. Kyle Heyer, joined by Connor Horn as we get to our final race of the season, of the regular season. Before we get to the playoffs here, Connor, this is it. If you have not locked yourself in already, this is a tough night to have to win a race.
Yeah, not a night where you have to go and win this. It's very difficult to do so. We saw some drivers last night come close but couldn't get it done. Although we did see a first-time winner, and that could very easily happen tonight. We could get our fourth different winner at Talladega, depending on who takes the checkered flag tonight. And it is going to be all out for this fight for the final playoffs points positions. Only 3 more spots to claim. 5 claimed via wins for Matheson, Hall, Weishart, Beckner, and Brad Slaughter. And then Theory and Curhan, Balliet, and Mason Kane locked in on points. Anna Sogak's pretty good, but not fully locked in. And Jacob Bell on down, no one is safe. We saw Ricky Springer had a 22-point gap going into last night's race, out by 2 points behind Case Lakatos, so he is nowhere near safe. Then JT Poole's only 8 to the good after a great run last week. Swan, Fontaine, Farrenborough, Wineland, Grant, Bourne, Senesac, others will probably likely need wins besides just incredible points races and obviously, 17th place in standings. Reigning champion James Scioli, a rough season trying to go back-to-back, and it might not be possible if he doesn't get the checkered flag tonight.
Yeah, there's a lot of drivers that need to win tonight, and it's just a hard place because only one is going to win. There might be plenty of others that are caught up in some issues. This is, of course, the HelloFresh 212. Big thanks to HelloFresh for coming on board. Look at eat healthier in 2024 without having to spend extra money. HelloFresh is here to help. Choose from over 40 calorie smart and protein smart meal options each week. Every meal arrives pre-portioned, giving you less time to prep and more time to enjoy your meal. HelloFresh also gives you free breakfast for life with an active subscription. What are you waiting for? Click the link to get started with America's #1 meal kit today and use the coupon code to save you 50% off your first box. And if you're on twitch.tv/area iRacing, you can use !HelloFresh to get more information. Well, it is already qualifying time down there on the racetrack here, Connor. And qualifying at Talladega tends to not matter all that much, except if we get an early crash, which we did yesterday in the Cup race. And then we went 60 laps plus before another caution happened. Can that happen again tonight?
I think it can happen, but the main reason why that happened last night is because we had a crash just to bring out the yellow, stacked everything up, changed the entire race, had a bunch of drivers get a lap down because of that long run. So it'd be surprising to see that again tonight because it's going to be a different style of racing than what we are accustomed to seeing with the Cup cars at these super speedways, but nothing's completely impossible as we only got about 2 minutes left in qualifying. Bronson Stafford's on the pole as it stands right now. Greg Mitchell and Garrett Grant are some drivers who need good points days, maybe a win to lock in, and you can see the drivers in green are our drivers locked in. Only 2 of them in the top 10. Make that 3. Jake Matheson, David Weishart, Joshua Balliet. It's Mason Kane, who's just blocked in as well after last week, takes his one and only lap.
Yeah, didn't do any bubble drivers tonight because there's so many drivers that could get in, so it wouldn't make sense to have half the ticker covered in a color. The green are only the drivers that are locked in mathematically and cannot fall out. There's a couple drivers that are in but not locked, and they are just white with everybody else. As far as the race tonight, 80 laps is the distance, and we'll tell you more about that when we get down to it. Here's Mason Kane working his way through. Brad Slaughter Jr. just jumped up to the top in that number 8, another driver who's locked in. And Connor, if you're in the green, as you were last night in the Cup Series race, it's just so much more relaxing. Of course, you ended up getting turned around at the very tail end, almost won the race last night, but that's just the level of intensity. Even though you were locked, there's still the intensity to go up there and win.
It depends on the situation you're in. If you have teammates trying to get in, your kind of mindset can change based on that as well. But yeah, it just makes you able to go for it. Last super speedway of the season, you're locked in. You can kind of do whatever you want and go crazy. Don't try to cause a wreck and make enemies before the playoffs, which thankfully I don't believe I did. But you got to be very, very careful on what you do. Although, yes, you do have the aggression level at an all-time high when you're in a situation like that. Mason Kane only went 15th. Gary Waterhoof's coming around. He will likely need points and points help and a win to get into the playoffs as he comes through 3 and 4. We saw a lot of drivers in qualifying yesterday around the apron, not the case tonight with 30 seconds to go as the top 10's pretty much a lock. Waterworth is not going to slot inside the top 10. He goes 14th. Case Lakatos got his way in by 2 points in the Cup Series playoffs over Ricky Springer. Not in the same position to do so tonight, but he could get a win as he's going to start. Looks like he's going to start third.
Yep, and that's a great starting position for him. Bobby Tinch is the only one of the 39 trucks that is not going to make a qualifying effort. He will start at the tail of the field. Of course, this is the HelloFresh 212 here at Talladega. Race fans, be sure to subscribe to the Area iRacing Twitch channel. As a subscriber, you'll have Area iRacing emotes to use in the chat, and you can earn double channel points as a subscriber that you can use to redeem for free merchandise, all for just $5 a month. That's twitch.tv/Area iRacing. You've also got the ability to utilize those keyboard commands to pull up things like that HelloFresh coupon code. Again, exclamation point HelloFresh for more information there. Our starting grid sponsor is Roasted Gems Coffee. Make sure you start your engines with a fresh cup of Roasted Gems Coffee. Choose from some of the finest coffee beans from Colombia and Peru, or try the blended flavors of French vanilla and hazelnut. Use discount code Area iRacing for 10% off your order at checkout at roastedgems.com. So the calm before the storm, isn't it? Talladega last night got wild at the end. We saw some horrific crashes on that last lap, but we did get to the white under green. Looking at our fuel window, 30 to 35 laps for fuel, Connor. Halfway is lap 40. Is there any teams or drivers that would try to save 5 laps, or is that too much, about 12 miles around here?
I think without a yellow, it's going to be too much. That's 5 laps per run, not just once, as the checker flag gets flown on warm-up as quickly as it started. But yeah, I think 5 laps per run's a little bit too much. So we'll likely see some early pit stops. We've seen in the past when you have a funky amount of laps for a race, it really messes with the fuel strategy. So we could easily see some drivers pit maybe around lap 10 just to have that one stop out of the way, get a splash and go, and get maybe track position on the rest when they all come down later. As we'll take one more look at the points so you can see who's locked in and who's going to need some help tonight. But yeah, I think it'll definitely be without a yellow. I don't think you can stretch this to a one stop. I think it's just a little bit too long.
Yeah, anybody that is on this list could win and be in. That's a lot of drivers. And I think one you have to circle here, James Scioli, absolutely. Eric Wineland, absolutely. Tom Bourne. But I think there's so many that really could end up at the front there that we'll have to keep our eyes on it tonight as well. And where is Jacob Bell? Because, man, he seems to show up every time at plate tracks, doesn't he? Maybe he's a wild card to win this race.
Could definitely be in a much better point situation tonight. 24 to the good, but like we talked about, Ricky Springer was 22 up, and he missed. So Jacob Bell's nowhere near safe. He has to be aggressive, get bonus points whenever he can, and make sure he finishes this race up at the front, because if he's the last one in on points and someone new wins, he's the one out. So he's going to have to be careful as we'll look at the weather. Not too big. It won't make too much of a difference here. Track temp is 108 as we got our caution light on after last season. We need that camera. We might need it tonight. We'll just have to wait and see, but this shouldn't make up too much of a difference, as can't forget about the guys just outside the top 20 either, because with a win, they'd probably get into the top 20 and make their way. And Greg Mitchell and Gary Waterworth and James Shainwolf are really the only three drivers outside the top 20 that might have a chance of winning in, but they're going to need a lot of help.
Weather was pretty similar to yesterday as well, and we saw a lot of two-tire calls or no-tire calls. This is not a racetrack where you're going to be focused on putting rubber on it. You're just going to fuel it up and go whenever you can. Maybe take tires at least once in this race. Otherwise, this is a two-stop race from flag to flag. If we go green, the place that we should always keep an eye on is that pit entry, because, Connor, no matter how many times we come to Daytona and Talladega, every time you hit the brakes, it feels like the first time on these green flag stops. If we're under yellow, I don't foresee that being a problem, but someone always gets caught speeding green flag pit stops here.
Yeah, you'll see it happen many, many times throughout the years, and you'll see it probably again tonight. You got to be very careful of your pit entry, not speeding, and you also got to make sure you're coming down with people because, especially with 39 trucks, you got to be ready if you have an early stall.
Well, quick rundown through the starting lineup. We won't go through the whole thing as you can read it, so we'll let Brad Slaughter Jr. and Bronson Stafford start in that front row. Casey Lakatos could absolutely sneak in here and snag a win. Travis Beckner rolls off fifth. That crew has been stout in all the series so far this season. JT Poole down in 8th place. James Scioli needs a win he will roll off in 9th. David Weishart, he's locked in, can focus on moving forward in that number 33. Eric Wineland could use a win to get in. Joshua Balliet is back there in that 07. Down the rest of the list here, Connor, pick me a favorite to win this race tonight of the 39 starters.
It's hard to pick a favorite with how crazy these truck races can be, but it's hard not to go for the favorites who are usually at the front the entire time. You got the Miller Racing guys. You got obviously the David Weishart Racing trucks are going to work together pretty well. It would be crazy to see James Scarlett win. I just don't really envision it. Cameron Hearn, he's back in 28th place. We haven't talked about him yet. He won, leading one lap, getting the last lap crash last season. He could do that again. Dawson Miller, a third start of the season for him. But if I had to pick one, I will go with the 88 of Justin Sogak. He's won at Daytona before, which was a pretty clutch win as we go through our 39 truck start in this race. But that 88's been aggressive the past month or so, and he needs a little bit to go his way tonight. He's in a good points position, but in fact, he is almost locked in. Not quite, but almost locked in. I'll take the 88.
That's a good pick. I think Eric Wineland will like my pick tonight because he was his pick last night. I'm going to roll with the 77 of Jacob Bell. I don't care what it is, what series we're in, he always finds his way to the front here. He's going to roll off 21st, but I'll bet you the 77 is at least in the top 5 or 10 at the end of this race, and I could use some points in the pick, so I will take it wherever I can. Well, pace lap is complete, and the starters have been written off. Here we go. 80 laps, about an hour and 14 minutes of racing if we go green from flag to flag. Here we go. Talladega, Alabama. The Area Truck Series is underway. Already 3 wide here at the front of the field. They're wasting no time making things interesting at the front as the 8 goes down to 7th after starting on pole. Lakatos leads the way here. Here comes the 61 on the outside with help from Greg Mitchell in the number 2 Ford.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Slaughter went to the middle thinking, I guess, maybe he'd get picked up. Didn't happen, so Bronson Stafford, Greg Mitchell, and Garrett Grant all get by him as the 8 jumps back. The 50 tries to lead lap 1. You don't really want to push on the left rear tonight. That was the way to go fast in the Cup cars. If you push on the right rear in the Cup cars, you go much, much slower as we complete lap number 1. But as long as you're out in the middle of these bumpers in the Cup, in the trucks and the Pro Series cars we'll see Thursday, you should be good.
2 lanes established here early. We saw 3 in the Cup Series stuff, and we're going to go back to 3 this time as Travis Beckner is going to momentarily pip the lead in the 28 with a big shove coming from Jake Matheson in the 52 on the bottom.
Patented Lakatos strategy, lead 1 lap and then lay it back. That's what he does, but he does under green this time. Usually does under yellow, but that lets Beckner and Jake Matheson get to the front. Matheson fast yesterday, but internet or computer issues kind of plagued him because he was in that breakaway pack with me and a few others. But tonight, hopefully, he's all good. James Scioli's following him through David Weishart.
Beckner leading the way. We saw a little bit of this last night. I love watching the onboards here at plate tracks because you can watch drivers at work doing the math in their head, figuring out when they can block, when they can't. And Travis put on a display of that event last night, looking out the rear view mirror. Up on the way out high side, there's a couple trucks up there to keep an eye on, including the 26 of JT Poole, also in desperation mode. Connor, we know how good he is as here comes Scioli up the center in the 7th.
He gets out of Weishart's way. He'll get a push from Bronson Stafford in the middle, but that he gives that very 3rd lane a lot of room to get a big run. Cameron Hearn, he started about 29th. He's already in this lane inside the top 10. The 88, my pick, is up there as well as Poole goes to the middle to get help from the 7 now. The 88 of Anna Sogak's getting the run, as this is more of what we're accustomed to with super speedway racing. The Cup cars don't really race like this, but the trucks and Xfinity Series cars, you'll see 3x3 for a while.
Yeah, it's 3x3 all the way down through the field now. You make a slightest mistake and it's game over for the entire field. That's what split the field up so much. Yesterday was a crash on lap 13 that never really fully materialized. It split the field into 4 chunks. They never really caught each other until the crash was later in the race. Michael Curhan is in this front group down in 9th. We didn't read his sign quite yet. We'll get a look at that later.
And look, when it's not crazy, 190 miles an hour into these corners, 3x3, and all bumper to bumper, as well as Matheson clips the apron a little bit, but he knows that's okay to do, at least on straightaways. I'll do it in the corners. Oh, we got a crash. Wineland just had something internet concern happen. He might have lagged out, and I think he tried pulling out to save everyone.
Yeah, he must have vaulted
did save
forward.
everyone.
Yeah, well.
Gosh, well, that is huge for his situation.
No longer in our video call either, so he must have just bailed. But he's, oh no, he's back. Well, that's weird.
7.
Yeah, it's big time issues for the 21.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it took anybody else. I thought it did, but he somehow managed to get away with that.
From my end, he turned dead left, but his internet or computer was messing up so bad, it saved everyone. His ping's at 900, so big issues for him. So he's going to be in a bind to have any sort of fortune to happen to get him into the playoffs, because now he's going to be out of the pack with no help. But at least it saved a pack somehow, as this battle still goes on with Poole, Beckner, Matheson, Scioli, and now Greg Mitchell's the one leading that third lane.
How tense is it this early in the race, Connor? I mean, it feels like 3x3 is pretty intense, but we've seen drivers do this for 10, 15, 20 laps at a time. We always were waiting for the wreck. So are these drivers on edge right now, or are they just trying to figure out what they've got this early?
I don't think they're really on edge. Well, maybe after Wineland's issue, some of those drivers back there are probably on edge. But I think up here, this is just kind of what you're expecting to happen. Oh, Mitchell gets turned! And just as we said it, Garrett Grant, Danny Ware, a bunch of others going to be crashed.
Lap 6, and it's a crash on the back straightaway, and it's like about a dozen loosely involved in that.
Like those off the bumper of Mason Kane. That's the one thing, you really want to push on the left rear in the cup cars, but in any other vehicle that will not work. Curhan might have been in it, Greg Mitchell's got front and rear damage. Just as we were talking about, these guys might not be that tense, now they're tense.
Yeah, that'll put you on edge. Have a look at it. Watch the two up here off the front bumper of Mason Kane.
Yeah.
Weishart just missed it, and really it was those 6 or 7 drivers on the way bottom, and then bam, the 2 into the wall. Curhan's going to take a nose hit there.
Yeah, terrible crash for Fazekas. That's 2 of their trucks probably getting the worst end of it. Ware, Waterworth, Dylan Lee, they might be okay. Garrett Grant got some damage, but those 2 Fazekas trucks definitely got the worst of it. Definitely looked like Mason bumped Mitchell, it put him up the track, and then he couldn't get off of the 2, and then ends up turning him into the field.
18 had a great view of this. He almost got involved in it because he was trying to back off not to be in it. Ended up almost in it. Here's his perspective. He got hit from behind. And
oh, yeah, he did. Oh. Yeah, that was incredibly close.
Curran almost had it. He got tagged at the beginning, but he almost had it missed. And then it was impact to the inside wall. Right here.
Yeah, he had... Yeah, it was Mitchell hitting the wall and jolting back up that turned Curhan. Thankfully, he's locked in on points just like he was the other night, so not a big deal, but if he wants to help his teammates, it's going to be a little hard to do, as everyone's going to come down pit road besides JT Poole to get some probably fuel and maybe some tires.
The other thing is we saw a variety of different strategies last night as far as when to come into pit lane. So JT's going to stay out, take the track position, and others will come on down, I think just for fuel, because this will just make it a one-stop race from here, I would think, right? 7 laps, that's awful close to being a one-stop race at least.
Going to be close. This makes it very close. If you can make it 35 a run, this puts you maybe 3 or so short, maybe a little more than that, but that it's still going to be really close, and 35 is the very edge of the window that we believe we have. So this is going to make it tight, but I think you'll see a lot of drivers top off here as well, as we'll get the 1 to go with about 72 to go, which would put you about 2 short if you can make it 35 a run. But now we get in that scenario where we might see drivers sit back and save a lot of fuel.
Yeah, again, it all depends on when the dominoes fall, and by the dominoes I mean the yellow flags, because they really determine the strategy of this race. Because of the nature of super speedway racing, we could have 50 green flag laps, and you have to be prepared for that scenario, even if you know or you think that there'll be some more yellows, because as you know, the unpredictability of these races is kind of their key feature. So we'll see how things pan out. Only 3 drivers that are locked in are in the top 10 at the moment. But if you're in the green, you're in the green. You don't have to worry about anything tonight.
And you got 3 Miller Racing drivers in there, so they can go as aggressive as they want, trying to get one of those 3 race win. All 3 of those were part of the 1, 2, 3 last week at IRP, and they're almost close to doing the same. They're evenly spread out, 2nd, 4th, and 6th, but Poole, Scioli, and Stafford all in between that for the time being. As the thing about yellows here, at least in the truck series, not overly common. We've had 1 race, season 2, with 5 yellows. The past 2 races have only had 2 cautions, and the first race in Area Truck Series history at Dega had 3, but the past 3 truck races have ended in green-white checkers. So the theme of this race has really been long green flag runs, but ending in chaos with a green-white checkered. So that might be something a lot of these drivers might have to strategize about as well, as we get some drivers topping off.
With Shane Wolf's lucky streak continuing, he vowed to give us all unlimited burritos too, as Michael Curran sits in the pit lane, wishing he was not.
Yeah. It's having fun though. Didn't have too many people top off for fuel, but it'll be we still might be very close. We'll have to see what the window ends up being.
Ryan Nowicki, Tom Bourne. Tom Bourne's one of those drivers that's just on the outside looking in. Maybe setting himself up for some alternative strategy. Helps to have teammates, though, on a night like tonight, Connor. You don't want to be by yourself making any of these decisions, especially if you need to be aggressive with those decisions. If you're going to do something out of the ordinary, you need somebody to go with you to help you. Yeah,
and Tom Bourne, it's going to be, I would say, maybe a little bit tougher for him in his position, but he does have Sky Motorsports teammates to potentially help him. Matthew Rodriguez, Matthew Rodriguez, I believe, he is in the field tonight, so he can get his help potentially, and James Scioli, obviously, but Scioli's in the same situation where he's going to need a win. So Bronson Stafford is 30th, so likely nothing he can do to make it. So really, the 7 and the 16 are going to be hoping their teammates choose them to go with at the end if they're in that situation, because you got 2 teammates right there who are going to be fighting for that final spot. It's kind of what happened last night with, I think it was Dom DeLeo and Edward Shearer. They weren't teammates, but either way, you had 2 drivers at the very end fighting for 1 win, golden ticket to get into the playoffs. We could see that happen again.
Mason Kane will restart 37th, end of the longest line for the incident responsibility from the previous crash. That's another thing to consider, Connor, is you can't be too aggressive, because if you tip off a crash, you throw your own race out and throw the baby out with the bathwater there. So, you know, in the real world, you can pull a Kevin Harvick and wreck the whole field and get away with it. You're not going to get away with it here. So you kind of have to play by the rules tonight as far as pushing and shoving is concerned, even at the end of the race when things get intense. It is not worth it to spin somebody out and end up at 36th with 2 laps to go and have no time to get back through.
You got to be careful about your fuel with the auto fuel feature. You might underfuel. That's what happened to Cameron Hearn last night. Put him all the way at the back, put him in a crash as we do take the green flag. First restart of the night. JT pulled a little bit of a blink right before they restarted, but all good now as he gets to jump, but John Hall gets to run with his teammates at the second lane.
There were 2 by 2 at the restart. There's cars on the apron in the back there just trying to get organized and sorted. Yep, Tom Bourne in that 16 who was coming up on just topping off on fuel. There's the 4 slicing and dicing and carving through. We'll see how long it takes to get 3 abreast after the restart, like we were just prior to that caution flag.
It's awesome. 3 by 3 kind of ended in a crash there, though, so it wouldn't shock me if they took a little longer to get 3 wide, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they go completely 3 by 3 immediately, but you don't have to. The restarts, they get a little bit more strung out than the initial starts, so Hall almost got turned off the nose of the 28. He's going to have to back out of line, but you're usually going to see people be more timid to make that 3-wide move after the first yellow, especially after they get strung out like that. But we almost had our second yellow, and we didn't even make it a lap. Yeah, John Hall's going to get shuffled out, and he will have to tuck back in a bit deeper in the field. Now down to 15th and dropping, as Beckner now has JT Poole to the inside with assistance from the number 7 of James Scioli. Now, if there's one truck I'd like to keep out of the playoffs, if I'm in it and I'm thinking about who I'm helping, would that truck not be the 7 of James Scioli? Wouldn't I want to keep him out of the playoffs based on his record last season? Beckner with a big block to in front of the 26. But yeah, I wouldn't want him, if I'm Jake Matheson, I wouldn't want the 7 contesting me in the playoffs because he's a big threat. He won the title easily last season. He's had a rough season, but he's still James Scioli, and he's still dominating the Pro Series. He has wins in all in 2 of the 3 series besides this one this season. He's still very dangerous and not a driver you want to see. There's really no one else outside looking in that's in that same category, besides possibly the closest driver to that would probably be Greg Mitchell, who's been making Final Fours in the past. But that 7 is, if there's anyone you don't want to win tonight, it's definitely James Scioli, if you're the opposition.
That was my thought, is how can I play offense while playing defense? And I think that might be one of them. If you can keep the 7 behind you tonight, you might not have to worry about him for the rest of the season as far as points are concerned. Jake Matheson is going to take the lead with a push from Justin Anasogak, and on the high side, Dawson Miller in that number 11 getting a shove.
His 3rd start of the season, his 2nd start of the Super Speedway. His 3rd start was Darlington, kind of joining in the Miller Racing team as he's going to bring John Hall, try to bring him back to the front. Gary Waterworth needs a win tonight, and points help. He's trying to get to the front on his own. They're just to the outside of Sam Fontaine, who's had a pretty solid season himself, but he finds himself about 12 points behind, points-wise, to that cut line.
A little nervous, the big pushes here. That Hardy's truck, there's Sam Fontaine, you just mentioned, in the middle there. Bronson Stafford on the bottom. JT, where'd he go? Whoa.
Oh, we got a crash. Bronson Stafford just killed the inside wall because of all that, and he's destroyed that 61 truck.
That truck is absolutely demolished, and it's going to come to a stop on the apron. Something wild happened out of turn 2, and we're going to get a look at it here.
I thought he blinked out, but oh gosh, what a hit. And no yellow at that, but I thought JT Poole blinked out, but no, they made contact and it scrambled things up, and I think it was Joey Chapman who put the 61 sideways. Just a horrible, horrible hit.
And that's night over in a vicious way as JT goes back to the point here. Justin Anasogak behind him, and then here comes Jake Matheson with a big shove from Travis Beckner on the bottom. Took out one truck, but we're going to stay green.
Bronson Stafford 30th in points, so no playoff implications on that one. It looked like, looking back at it quickly, it was netco between the 26 and the 88. No fault of
52.
anyone.
Matheson got hooked left, or hooked right rather, off the nose of Beckner. That was a big moment. He'll drop right back down in front. Watch this.
I thought it was a block, but no, that was not under control. But somehow he kept it in control to keep the lead and keep the 26 at bay. It looked pretty crazy for lap 14, and I'm sure Scioli doesn't want to see it as he's going to go more controlled block. That was more controlled. He's actually trying to control the lanes. We saw this. He made this work very well at Atlanta in the Cup Series earlier this season. He's doing it right now. It's that 26 is fast, even with the 88 not on his bumper, but Matheson's going to be controlling these lanes right now.
Runs are so big here at Talladega. It's just dangerous when you start swapping lanes like that. And I think, as you found out last night, you know, when you go to throw a defensive block I mean, any racetrack, but especially here, you know, there's no rules against blocking because it is 100% self-policing. If you throw a block and it's too late, you end up in the concrete, and there's not much else that needs to be done or said about it.
Yeah, hit a safer barrier, I'm still concussed, but yeah, definitely you got to be careful of what you're doing, especially on the last lap. We're going to see all sorts of blocks. I mean, last lap, all bets are off as Matheson once again goes to that middle to block. You know, all bets are off at the final lap. You're going to do anything you can to try to stay at the front. Yeah, you're sitting duck in the lead. All you can do is just try to swerve and hope they stay on your rear bumper. It's a losing strategy almost 100% of the time, but you literally have no choice. It's either that or give them the win, and you're not going to do that. So, like you said, definitely self-policing, and we saw a lot of that happen last night, especially at the very end.
Yeah, so watch this run on the outside. That purple, orange, and green truck is going to come with a big run off the 88. Matheson's going to likely go up the racetrack here. Right there, swings across to the right. JT saw it coming, but the danger you get here is that, you know, JT can see that move, but Anasogak might not be able to. So you end up with that, you know, as Matt Malone calls it, don't push the pusher. You can't see through the truck ahead of you, so you're just pushing blindly, and sometimes if you have to check up, it just turns into a mess.
And 52 could not block it that time, but yeah, it can easily turn into a mess. And the issue for the 26-88, they can go to the outside of the 52, no problem, but the issue is if 52 gets back in front of the 28, and then, for example, Sam Fontaine fills the void in that middle lane, then you're losing your track position. And now that third lane's there, and JT Poole's actually going to block John Hall, and that's really stacked up that top lane, but they kept it straight. now it once again took us a little longer than it did last run, but we're back to that 3x3 racing as looks like Bobby Tinch is going to go to the apron, and Matheson's trying to block both lanes in the bottom and middle still.
I don't like this. I mean, Matheson's done a good job of it so far, but it's great. These big stack-ups and accordion effects here. We're still not even a quarter of the way through this race, so the aggression level's very high. We're 3x3. There's not a lot of room for anybody to see or maneuver. They're just along for the ride beyond the front row of cars.
There's nothing you can do. This is when it does get tense, when the bumping gets intense and kind of out of whack, and you have someone trying to block the field like Jake Matheson is right now. That's when people get on edge and get a little bit worried. David Weishardt's calm, cool, collected as he runs a little bit behind this, I believe. As a matter of fact, he is at the very back. Maybe one of those fuel savers, just trying to stay out of it. But if you're in this lead pack of about 18 trucks or so, you're definitely on edge, just hoping something that doesn't happen. Hopefully something doesn't happen to you like it did Bronson Stafford, as Scioli's going to completely bail out of this as I say that.
Yeah, I like that call for Scioli. I mean, the race is a long way from over. They are going to crash at some point running like this, so why be in the wreck when it happens when you know it's going to happen? It's really rare that this 3x3 scenario ends with everyone single file without a crash.
Almost impossible, I would say. That would be my take.
It's like bottling up entropy. It just there's no way. Once you uncork the bottle, you can't recork it.
No, and eventually it's all got, all that force and pressure. It's just going to absolutely explode. Sometimes out of turn 2, sometimes out of turn 4, sometimes out of the trioval. It can happen all sorts of ways at this 2.66 mile track, as we are actually back to 2x2. Only Hall and Hearn on that top side trying to make things happen, as now the 88 is leading that middle lane, and JT Poole did get clear of Jake Matheson.
Yeah, typically when you get 2x2 like this, though, I was going to say this, it opens up the opportunity for someone to jump to the outside, and I think was that Dylan Lee that did that? No, it's a 71 of Sam Fontaine.
But that's going to let Matheson and Beckner probably get control back of this race. JT Poole did not feel like blocking it, a little too early to do so, as bump gets intense, and a Sogak might have wanted to get to that third lane, but Fontaine kind of filled that gap. And it was too late for Anasaga to get up there. Now Matheson goes to the top. He's trying to control this field as best he can right now.
Laps clicking away. We're 20 laps in to JT Poole's stint. Everyone else has 7 laps more fuel on board. JT is about 10 to 15 away from having to make a pit stop. Ooh, big block there from the 77 of Jacob Bell jumping up to the middle groove. And Beckner and Poole chase each other across the road.
These two worked together great last season, but they are apparently not on the side of eye right now, as Beckner's having fun with it, as Poole blocked him up and down the track, down the back straight that let Matheson get a run, as here comes he's always up here, Jacob Bell in the middle, leading this line, going for the lead.
Knew that was a good pick, and it's 2 of Greg Mitchell. A couple laps down, he's going to bail out of the way. As the 77 almost led that lap, JT snuck back at the very last second.
77's wiggling a little bit there in the middle, maybe uncomfortable with being in that lane, but kind of got to commit to it at this point. As the 26 now he blocks the middle, gives Beckner the bottom, and really going to let Matheson get a run back, as it's a tight 3x3, and it gets especially tight on the exits of the corners. When it stacks up on the exits and entrances of these corners, that's the worst part, it's the worst time for it to happen.
Yeah, got really tight there coming off of turn 2. The 52 drops back ahead of the 77 to 25, bouncing off of Waterworth there in the middle of the field.
Yeah, him and Lakatos made contact. I don't know how they saved that, but they kept it straight, and now it's really jumbled this field up. You're starting to see more and more trucks completely bail out of this. It's getting more and more thin at the front.
Matheson now controlling. There is an element of maybe this is the Brad Keselowski strategy of make them think you're crazy, and then they won't try to go by you. They'll sit tight. Well, you are someone's got to be crazy enough to go up there and throw all those blocks back to back to back to back. Maybe just let Jake do it for a while.
Well, the Stenhouse is more than Brad. I think he's more crazy at these types of tracks. Also, rookie Chase Elliott, he was crazy as well.
He was crazy, wasn't he?
Yeah, for a little while there, but everything, I don't know if it's getting more calm or not, because they're still pushing hard in that top line. That's Sean Peachin pushing Sam Fontaine, and they still got Ford Truck Strong up there trying to get this third lane working, wanting that track position. But like we said, you're starting to see so many more drivers single file behind this. It seems like we're 2x2, 3x3. When you get back to Cameron Hearn, 19th on back, everyone else there single file.
They're just sitting and waiting, clicking off laps, sitting and waiting. At some point, they'll get a yellow, and You know, I'd be shocked, especially around the pit stop sequences, because a lot of drivers will make those mistakes trying to pull out of traffic when they're 3 wide, and it's a long way from over.
He actually only got 9 trucks that aren't on this bottom line right now. Is Matheson once again aggressive to get to the middle? Bell got shuffled out to the top because of that block, though, as Peachin gets sideways. Lakatos had to back off of him as well, as once again gets pretty crazy as that top line dies. I don't think Jacob Bell's going to be happy about that, but it didn't really work out for Matheson as 3 drivers get clear.
Yeah, and we'll see what new line is spawned out of that one, because as we said, it's only going to be 2 wide for a while before it regathers some momentum from some other group. Maybe the 4 or Cameron Hearn will lead that charge there. Looks like Sam Fontaine is going to be the one to pilot that, as Bell drops to the bottom, wants no more of that outside group for the time being.
88 over the radio questioned why he's blocking like that. Matheson said he got a late hot call, and what that means is that I think the driver who was pushing him, I don't remember who it was at that time, but the driver who was pushing him said he's got hot on the grill and he had to get out of the way. That's why he's swerving like that, just to make sure the drivers he's working with do not blow up. So he swerved to get away from his front bumper. That's what might cause some of those stack ups that they have with the 77. As looks like him, Beckner, and JT Poole are working these lanes right now to stay at the front.
Well, Joey Chapman up into 4th place in the number 60. Good start for him. And wasn't that 12? Kind of in the middle of that first wreck where he sits in 5th.
Yeah, he sits in 5th. He's about 10. He's 10 points behind 20th, so a win could get him in, but he will need some help. But yeah, even after being minorly involved in that last crash, it's having a good run so far. 3rd line on the bottom as they get more spread out 2 by 2 and less single file, I would say, as here comes that 3rd lane. Cameron Hearn jumps up with help from trying to see Mason Kane, I believe, who got the EOL.
Yeah, that is Kane in the 31. He's got a really good truck tonight. Jumps up to the outside to give the 4 to push. Jason Dalton in the 02's in here somewhere. Middle of the field here on the bottom.
Back there in 7th as it's only Hearn and Kane, so they'll get back in line and wait for maybe more help to come. As Lakatos behind him, not really up there to fight them as we complete lap 25, as now we're pretty evenly 2 by 2 throughout majority of the field. As really the first single file, the beginning of that single file train is John Hall back in 20th, which has been consistent for the past 5-10 laps, is where that single file starts.
Yeah, this is looking like a typical plate race where you've got a couple of a dozen or so cars that are mixing it up at the front, trying different lanes, pushing and shoving, and then everybody else is just waiting for a mistake to kind of rebundle things back up. And they're happy just to sit single file, click off laps, especially those that are in riskier scenarios, like those that are on the inside of the playoff picture but are not locked. They want to play this pretty conservatively here. I don't see any value in being way over aggressive if you're in above the cut line, and you don't need a win. Don't try, because you're going to end up getting wrecked. Maybe just try to play this one smart.
That's what they're going to try to do right now. At the same time, the guys at the front are being aggressively smart because they're working together, working both of these lanes currently and staying top 3 while they're at it. So it's a good strategy, and if it goes green, it could work, but they've been close to wrecking, and part of that's already taken out Bronson Stafford as Cameron Hearn swerves to the 3rd lane. So you got to be careful while doing this, because if someone doesn't want you to have power, tries to pass you, then you have to block them. It could cause a big crash.
Is there, in this series and track and truck configuration, is there a safe place to be in this field? Would you feel safer up front or feel safer in that single file pack in the back?
I'm safer in the single file pack because if you're single file, you have plenty of room to avoid the crash. Really, the only people you have to avoid are the drivers behind you, so they don't run into the back of you. I think as far as avoiding crashes, it's the safest place to be. The issue with that is it's going to be hard to get back to the front running single file like that. So I'd rather be at the front and compete a little bit more and just be in the main pack, so I know what to do, what not to do. I'd be learning right now. There's nothing wrong with running at the back, especially if the fuel is going to be tight, which is what we expect it will be.
Yeah, JT's only a couple laps away from having to pit. He's the only one in this scenario. It's kind of a bad spot to be in, I'd say.
Kind of why I was surprised he did stay out. I thought everyone would come in, just get that extra fuel, but only him and John Hall were the only ones to stay out. Everyone else can maybe have a crack at making a one-stop work under green now.
Even if they don't try that strategy, if he has to pit by himself, he's going to lose so much time. And I don't know that that was worth the momentary track position, but we'll see how it pans out.
Definitely see whatever happens, as, yeah, like you said, they're not too far away, probably about in the next 6-7 laps, maybe 8 laps, depending on how much they saved under a yellow. That's when they'll have to come down, and, you know, they might have teammates try to help them, but it might be a little bit tougher to do so, as it looks like we're going to see Sam Fontaine leading now. Shane Therian wants to get that third line going. I wonder if those Miller Racing drivers got out of the way, maybe try to save some fuel, because they have been full throttle at the front. When you're full throttle at the front, you're burning so much more fuel than everyone else around you, so this might be a play just to make sure they can make a fuel window happen, as now Anna Sogak and Hearn have found each other again.
Yeah, the fun battle of, like, everyone wants to be 6th. No one wants to lead this pack if the intention is to save fuel. If we get into that fuel-saving mode, we could go green. We could undo this entropy that we established with the 3 wide, 3 abreast, but it's not looking likely as we're back to it. 38 at Therian on the outside with a push from the 16 at Tom Bourne.
And all those Miller guys are just sitting now. They're not even trying to push. They're spread out on the bottom, not pushing. So I think they're probably going to need to save the next 10 laps or so to make this work. But everyone else is going to start racing now, try to get that track position for those pit stops. Therian to the lead, but now Anna Sogak takes it back. 88 wants to go to the bottom. Hearn cuts off to 71. Now the 40 truck in the middle, all on his own. It's Tyler Brewer. We didn't even mention him. It's his first time. We got pit stops.
JT Poole is in this pack. So is I'm surprised that they're coming now. And JT got lucky, I think, because they could have just run this tank out, and then JT would have been by himself. But he's going to come down with a group of about a half dozen trucks.
This is pretty much all of Miller Racing, plus a couple other stragglers like Dylan Lee. So it's not too surprising. It seems like they kind of made sure to pick up the 0-3 and the 26 to make this strategy work, but no way they can make it work from here on one without a stop. So they're committed to this strategy now. As everyone else, who knows, we might see drivers still try to stretch this only one more stop under green, but that group of drivers won't be doing that. I didn't even mention that this is a debut of a driver, by the way. Tyler Brewer.
Oh, yeah.
I believe he's made a start.
I've never seen that name before. Here he is in that 40. I was going to say this truck looked unfamiliar, but
I thought it was Lakatos for a while.
I did too. That's what I thought the truck was.
Lakatos is a little bit more greenish shade, but they're going to get 4 wide now, splitting Brewer out of this. Waterworth making the move.
That was dicey.
That's what you get for being new.
09 carving his way through as well. Bryce Senesac.
The one thing that could work out for those drivers who just pit, they can try to get organized quicker. And if these drivers in this main pack that haven't pit yet are all bunched up and, you know, really not bunched up, but spread out and not going fast, those Miller Racing Plus drivers can make some time up and maybe even gain time. It seems like they have lost Dawson Miller. He wasn't able to stay with them, but they're going to have about 7 trucks strong.
Lap 33, kicking things off now. We're just clicking laps away like nothing else. And, you know, these laps under green, they go by pretty quick, about 51 seconds a lap. And we're 4 wide again into turn 1.
Brewer gets back to the middle. They're not going with him.
No,
that's twice they put him 4 wide, or maybe he made it 4 wide. I couldn't really tell, but
it's amazing how quick it happens, right? Like all of a sudden, bam, 4 wide, like out of nowhere. Because all it takes is one driver to think, you know, that there's an opportunity there, and then all of a sudden the whole lane follows him through, and you go from being 2 wide to 4 wide in seconds.
Yeah, so you got to be incredibly careful when that happens, as I'm sure we're going to see more of that the rest of this night. Is we're going to have more pit stops. Trying to see who Scioli's part of it. Looks like Danny Ware. So a little bit more of a team game. Chapman, Therian, Rodriguez, Bourne. Sky Motorsports I know is in, as a few others are as well.
That's a handful of pretty good trucks that are in this listing. They will come and grind to a halt down there in pit lane, get some fresh fuel put in, and then there was 10 or 12 at the front here. And they're about 3 laps shy of 30 laps on this tank of fuel, which is the short end of the window. Again, they're thinking of this in the totality of this race, not necessarily in each individual run.
Yeah, that's definitely what they're going to be focusing on, is now only 6 trucks are not single file I would think in the trucks, you probably don't really want to be single file. It's not faster in a big group like this. You want to be more spread out, as it seems like Sean Peachin's really checking up the drivers behind him. So these drivers will go as long as they can, seemingly on their tank of gas, while everyone else who just pit going to try to stay with the Miller Racing trucks, but they're not really, some of them are not going to be able to do that. I do not think it's going to be a little close. We might see two packs that already pit kind of form apart from each other.
Trying to see if I could see a couple. There's a pack that's sort of formulated, Miller Racing at the pointy end, and the second group that kind of assimilated in fairly nicely, but we're still 3 wide back here up for the lead. And if they do this for a couple more laps, Connor, that newly formed pack could actually eat into some advantage, provided that they stay nose to tail and neatly aligned.
And they have been. They've been tenths faster while doing what they're doing. So if you're not going to be able to cut a stop out, it's not going to work well as everyone else. A lot of the big chunk of what's left of this pack is going to pit. Hernan and Sogak leading them in. Fontaine, Waterworth, Brewer, Peachin's there as well, as they're all in cleanly so far.
Bryce Senesac now leads the way. Garrett Grant, Weishart, Tinch. One of the last groups to be on track. Well, I guess there's still 19 in total that have yet to come to pit lane. Actually, sorry, that's less than that. It's now just 8.
Yeah, all these 8 in this lead pack, plus Dawson Miller, who lost his teammates. He's just in the middle of it. As now Senesac, a lot of David Weishart Racing. Senesac, Grant, then Weishart, Tinch, and Brad Slaughter. And then in behind, I think some of the elite trucks, Shane Wolf, Balliet, and Adam Capps. Balliet is also elite. Yep, I think they're all teammates, and they'll stay out one more lap as they'll complete 36 laps. Not all of them under green, but they get closer and closer to maybe seeing if they can stretch this all the way out. As, oh, sorry, we almost had a spin on pit exit. Nowicki really sideways, even behind all of that, but he kept it straight.
Yeah, that pack is getting a little unwieldy now at the tail end of it. The leaders make their way through turns 1 and 2. Closing in at halfway distance-wise here as well. We've only had the 1 yellow on lap 6. Since then, it's been clean and green. We had the issue with Bronson Stafford on lap 13, but since then, we've been good.
Yep, about almost 30 laps green. Still, seems like we're gonna still wait on those leaders to come down. They'll stay out one more lap at least. Now things are we're gonna start to focus on the drivers that are in the bigger pack, which is the pack of everyone who has already pit. Mason Kane's leading that pack now. JT Poole, all the Miller Racing guys, Poole, Matheson, Beckner lined up, and they are all single file all the way back to Sam Fontaine and Sean Peachin, who are trying to hang on. Then Jacob Bell, Waterworth, Fambro, and Tyler Brewer are a little off those guys, just trying to catch up.
And look on the left-hand side of the screen. Their last lap, led by Kane, 50.838 last time by. 51.275 for Bryce Senesac. So that's almost a half second better. And that's going to translate to this group leading, if they weren't already in cars in this group ahead of the group that's on track now, they are going to be from those 5 or 6 laps running where they are just clicking off faster laps.
Yeah, and they'll go another lap, but if you're not going to be able to make it on one less stop, this is just really hurting you at this point, to the point where you're really going to lose a lot of time and might even lose the main pack with that amount of time that you're losing. That time by Senesac of 51.9. Mason Kane was about, if you're trying to make a one-stop work, you would be, but I think they would probably want to be slowing up a little bit more. They were 0.7 of a second slower than Mason Kane, which is bad. I mean, if they're lifting trying to save fuel, that's fine. I just don't really think that's the case.
Yeah, they'd have to go.
Looks like these guys are coming down this time, possibly, some of them.
They'd have to go to lap 45-ish or so to even remotely have a shot. I don't think that they were going to do that. So here comes Bryce Senesac, and with him comes the rest of the party. That 33 is in there hot. Can he get it slowed down?
Yep.
Yes.
Cameron Hearn just came down to pit again. He had pit earlier. I wonder if he got a speeding penalty or maybe a penalty on the exit with a bad, coming across the yellow line. Not quite sure, as Peachin's almost in the wall at this, what is going to probably be the lead pack once they cycle back out. But either way, that's pit stop sequence done, and almost certainly I will have one more set of stops left.
Yeah, so this group of 3 wide, here's what worries me is that this next group's going to come back on the racetrack blend on the back straightaway. Then we're going to have 4 wide. So if you're in the 88 and 50, I would consider dropping in to just make it double wide, because I don't know if I want to be against the fence as the field comes by, but they're just leaving pit lane now.
Yeah, they're going to lose this pack, I think, for sure. So going long, it's only good if you can cut a stop out, but when you lose time like that, that's what's going to happen. You're going to lose the pack completely. Weishart's at the front of it. They won't even come close to staying with it.
Yeah, Shane Wolf, I think, is going to lose the draft as well, unless he gets someone to go back there and help him out. Oh, big block from John Hall in the 0-3 on Peachin, who's been impatient back there in that 69. He wants to go.
Yeah, Peach and Fontana worked well together, but John Hall kind of shutting that down with a big block, and now they'll fall back a little more as Antisogak, he's been aggressive, he's in the middle, but with no help, as now we've really gotten a spread out field, as now this lead pack is about, I would say, maybe 28, 29 trucks.
That's almost the entire field. And we complete half this race distance, lap 40 of 80. The HelloFresh 212. And it is fairly intense here at the front. We've had a couple looks at our SimRat Market replay, maybe not as much as we could have by this point. Make sure you head over to simratmarket.com for custom iRacing paint scheme templates that are simple and easy to use, so it keeps you more focused on the racetrack. simratmarket.com.
And more accurate, I can say more accurately, this lead pack is now 21 trucks strong, all lead lap trucks. And then 22nd, David Weishart, he's leading that line of 7 at this point, then everyone else is pretty spread out.
Nick Matheson, JT Poole pulling dead even again. And the worry is, I think JT and Jake are both really aggressive. Get all the way down to the end of the race and put these 2 trucks side by side. It's like, you know, immovable object versus unstoppable force at the front of the field.
Yeah, definitely, but they'll make sure one of those 3, including Beckner, will try to win it. But they're really going to have to struggle with just Antisogak, who's just as aggressive in trying to win this race. Madsen drops down. He'll just get in front of the 26 like they want to do. And now John Hall, you got another driver who knows how to win these races. He won the season opener at Daytona. He can easily get aggressive and win this race as well.
Justin Antisogak was a good pick for this race, Connor.
Yeah.
A little forward thinking there, I think.
Jacob Bell's at the front too, and he's still in this pack, but he's being much less aggressive, just kind of sitting at this point. Well, he's pushing Gary Waterworth at the back.
I think he's typically at the front at the end of the races because he knows when to turn the aggression on. And I think maybe lap 43 isn't, well, as I say that he goes 3 wide, prove me wrong, but maybe lap 43 isn't quite time to go. If you run this race to the end, it's 30 minutes from now when we throw the checkers. So that's not a lot, I mean, not that much time. There's a lot that can happen in the next 37 laps, but 30 minutes, not an hour anymore.
Now we're definitely taking time down as the 88 chops the nose of the 52 to clear for the lead, but probably see Matheson get clear of John Hall and get right back to the middle to get back by. He's not quite clear though, so that won't happen, and that's letting that tandem on the 3rd lane get to the front. Here comes Bell, pushed by Gary Waterworth, the other way around actually. Bell pushing the 12 of Waterworth, who needs a race win.
Dead even again for the top spot here through turns 1 and 2. Casey Lakatos, look at him in the middle here. Continuously impressing us week in and week out, finding himself in the middle of these battles for the lead. Great qualifying effort tonight. Started up in 3rd, has been running in the top 10 most of the race, but did drop as low as 37th on that pit stop sequence. We'll go back to the inside of the 77, excuse me, and the 12.
77 and the 12. It's like old school Penske when they had both those numbers,
yeah.
But they're starting to drop back at this point. Bell just bails. Now Waterworth has Rodriguez and Tom Bourne behind him, but they don't have much of a run. So as a, that 3rd lane is the lane that comes and goes. The other 2 lanes are usually strong completely throughout a run, but that 3rd lane's always up and down depending on who's pushing, who's leading. That's the big variable, especially near the end of a race when everyone tries to get to that 3rd lane. That's when it gets pretty jumbled up and pretty crazy. As now we're back to 2 lanes. Antisogak tried blocking Matheson but couldn't, and now Matheson leads that middle lane. Who's going to push for that bottom lane through? And meanwhile, that pack led by the 33 is closing a little bit closer to this lead pack. They are fast right now and making up time to try to get back involved.
They put someone else on the point as well. I think it's the 5 of Garrett Grant back in 22nd. So they've changed out locomotives and they're heading down the track. And they are running quicker, as you pointed out, so they will catch them.
Which is pretty important for the rest of this race. I think they'll probably know that you're not going to go long again and lose that track position. It's really the short, as long as you have a good group of trucks, the shortcut, the undercut is what you want to do, because you can get formed up quicker with less trucks, which is better for speed, and you get a gap over everyone else. But it's worked out well. Even though they went long, it worked out well with only 7 trucks, because now they're back, and we're going to be back strong with 28 trucks in the lead pack.
Here's the other thing to consider. We are now 35 laps to go. Another couple of laps, Connor, and that's pit window time. Again, we've seen people at these super speedway races tend to run the tank out so they can spend less time on pit lane. But if you wanted to try some other strategy, the door is open, and that second group, maybe they could consider that as well. But the danger is if the caution comes out, that lead pack is just going to get a free pit stop effectively.
At least the upside to that is if you pit now and get the yellow and you stay on the lead lap, you cycle to the front.
Yeah.
So there's even more of an incentive to pit early, but I think this is too early. The first group to pit were the Miller Racing guys with Matheson, Poole, and Deckner, but that was only around lap 30, and I wouldn't see much sense in pitting 15 laps, 20 laps after you'd already pit. I would not be surprised to see them come maybe around lap 55 to 60. I think that's when we might see things start to pick up. Just look at this tandem on the top with Varian. A little bit squirrely there with him and Walworth, and he tried chopping John Hall and couldn't. They had a run, but lost it there because they couldn't get down.
Yeah, he had the opportunity to drop down, and he almost ended up wrecking himself on the front of the field. Valiant effort, but he wasn't able to hang on. They're going to get disconnected and lose their advantage as John Hall pulls even with the 52, and it's 2 of the Shopton area iRacing trucks out front right now. Hall leads that lap, Matheson right behind. And here comes the 38 again with another resurgence.
Yeah, it's just those 2 making it work. Those tandems are pretty fast. The only issue is that it lasts a very short amount of time because that driver pushing gets very hot unless you got 4 or 5 trucks up there. Then it's a little bit easier to make that work. But in the short time you can do it, it's fast and you can hang on, but just not for very long. As they got so close to clearing last lap, they're not really going to get close this time around, as resurgences from Sean Peachin and John Hall in the middle with the big run.
3x3 at the front of the field. Only 1 yellow back at lap 6. Since then, we've been green in a story fairly similar to last night. Now, I have a hard time believing this race is going to finish under green, or at least finish all the way without another yellow. The question now becomes, when does that yellow come? And if it's soon, that's going to really spice things up, because we've got a lot of opportunity to still junk some trucks tonight. And Talladega always junks some trucks. She's due for one at some point here.
Like I said, the last 3 races here in the Truck Series ended in green-white checkers. The last 2 races have ended with green-white checkers and with only 2 cautions, as now Hall blocks the 3rd lane. So we've already had 1 yellow, and that's been our lone yellow. So if we're trying to be Larry Mack and go off the race trends, you'd probably guess under 5 to go or so is when we'd see that last yellow and put us in another green-white checkered scenario. I'd find it hard for that third to that it happened 3 times in a row, but that's what the trends say it would happen.
Little bobble there from the 71. Peachin had a lead for a moment, but John Hall with the 38 pushing now retakes the advantage on the top side.
He's kind of working the lanes. Oh, Therian wanted the lead. John Hall made sure he didn't get that. He wanted to help the 38 out, but not that much. But that's why that high lane is kind of the wild card, because if one driver goes up there and helps a tandem, they can get that big of a run. So we could easily see that happen later in the race, where what the 03 just did. Is they're not too far away from getting to a group of about 5 lap trucks. 2 of them are Mitchell and Curhan, who are laps down. Cameron Hearn, Dalton, Dawson, Miller involved in that as well, as they're still 2x2 up at the front.
The 12 got checked out of the groove there a touch in the background. JT Poole's going to split to the high side, but nobody goes with.
Wonder if he thought Bell would go with him, and he didn't, so he's going to drop back here, and this is 1 less driver for the 52 and the 28 to get help from, but they do have John Hall at the front now. And speaking of that, Travis Beckner had dropped back a little bit in this pack. He's actually behind the 88 fifth in line on the bottom, so he's not in the controlling position like he was earlier with his teammates.
Look at the run on the high side there. When you get that push on the outside of the backstretch, you just fly.
189 down the straightaway, about 4 miles an hour faster than the race leader, John Hall.
And pulls even with that front row again. That's how quick things can change. Drop to the rear, get a good push, and here you are again.
How long can you keep it up for is the question, because you don't keep it up, you're going to the back as they got to run. They're even with the leader, Sean Peachin now, as Peachin tries to lead maybe his first laps of the season, which he will at least lead this one regardless, but that tandem might die again. Now Peachin goes to the bottom, maybe gets some clean air on the nose of Sam Fontaine, who's been shoving him all the way to the front. Those two have done really well to get up there.
Under 30 laps to go, and a big shove coming from the 12 of Waterworth again to the back of Poole.
Matthew Rodriguez has kind of been the straggler in that top lane this entire run as well. He's not pushing, but he's sure following when they go fast.
Here's the other danger of this race going green for so long is when we get down to those last 10 laps as the 69 goes for a ride on the front of John Hall's truck. When you have this many trucks and they start packing up 2 and 3 wide, there's nowhere to go. You get trapped in like 25th and you're not satisfied. So you push, you push, you push, you push. And then when the wreck happens, it's 25, 30 trucks. That's the other danger. If you don't have little yellows throughout the night to take out trucks, then you end up with one really big one. And that could happen here as well.
Well, that's the issue we talk about all the time at these super speedways. That third lane gets clogged up. There's a certain point when, you know, it's sporadic like it's been this run, but there's a point you hit when you get everyone going to that third lane and it's 3x3 to the very end with nowhere to go. The only, I won't even call it a positive because it invites more wrecks, but you can make 4 wide work here. It's just very, very difficult. But when you see 3 lanes clogged up, that's kind of your message is to say, oh God, I got to get to the front now, because you get more and more drivers and more lanes. It creates less and less opportunity to make moves to get closer to the front. So we still have a pit stop, so you won't see that happen yet, but this is really one when you want to be positioning yourself closer to the front, not just for the pit stops, but to have the track position to compete for the win at the end of this race, something that the 7 of Scioli and many of others who are in that must-win situation are going to need to do.
JT clears Sam Fontaine, pulls down and ahead of him. Get the 77 and the 16 up here in the top 5 and 6 as well. Both those trucks have been on the point at least once today. Center with a big push from Bell.
A little squirrely. That 77's been a little squirrely when he's in the middle, but they keep it straight. And now we're seeing more and more single file, more and more drivers setting up for that final pit stop possibly, as now we only have about 7 trucks not on that bottom lane. Doesn't look like anyone. Oh, we do have a few at the back coming down for their final stop. Looks like the Weishart trucks.
Yeah, looks like Grant, Senesac, Brad Slaughter Jr., Weishart, and Tinch, yeah.
And this is the opposite of what they did previous run. They saw that the long run put them in a hole. They got that track, they got the position back, but they still lost so much time. So now they're going to go with that short run to kind of counter that. And they might, we'll see if it brings anyone else down. Those leaders might see that and not want that to happen. I
like that a lot because they were making up time before. So they know that they're faster, or they can be faster in that group. They're all working together. So, yeah, I mean, it'll take a little extra work because they kind of have to undo the sins of the first pit stop and then some. And they can be blocked if this front pack wants to come in. But getting this front pack to get organized is going to be a challenge in itself. So I like that call from that group.
And no one is going to respond. So at least having one lap of no one responding might get them the run that they need and might help them gain the time that they need to make this work. As smoke off the pit road as the leaders go by. Jacob Bell leads that lap. Him and Gary Waterworth finally got clear. Matthew Rodriguez did too, but then take it.
Yeah, I think Rodriguez played that smart. I think he was clear for a moment, but had he pulled down, I think the overlap would have been gone. So he was just being cautious there as Waterworth jumps to the outside ahead of Fontaine. And he might get a shove good enough to propel him to the lead.
Must-win scenario. Gets to the lead. Fontaine likely needs a win too. Tom Bourne once again. We're seeing all sorts of drivers who need things to happen today at the front. The top 7 not locked in. And then you had 8th, 9th, and 10th locked in there. And then the 88 side by side with the 38 of Therian, who's had a good season. Once again, no one else responds. So once again, those Weishart trucks are able to, if they can get formed up and go fast enough, they have a chance to gain some track position and time on these guys.
We'll give them a few laps to get organized before we start having a look at lap times very closely. The only truck that's out of the race is Bronson Stafford. Michael Curhan is 15 laps down. Then Greg Mitchell is 2 laps down. Everybody else, the other 36 trucks, are all in the lead lap.
And Greg Mitchell's just been hoping for that second caution to come out ever since the restart, but it hasn't happened. And the lead pack's been getting closer and closer to Hearn Dalton and Dawson Miller, who are only about 5 seconds above that lead pack. So Mitchell's still hoping, hanging on to hope, as we'll see.
Whoa, Tom Boren, big sideways movement there. I thought they were getting organized and looking very orderly. I thought maybe we might see some drivers hit pit lane, but they did not.
Ouch. That was a save.
And just for reference, we have 23 laps to go this, is that right? 33 laps to go. We are 23.
Nope, 23.
Oh, I was right. Okay, great. 23 laps in this stint have been completed. But this is the halfway point of this run to the end. I think that's why we're seeing some trucks back out and get single file in anticipation of splitting this run in half.
I gotta say, if I'm this pack, I need to get some people together to pit right now because they're not going fast. Those Weishart trucks are doing a good job swapping out and having fast times. 51.4 from Garrett Grant last time by. Sam Fontaine, the leader, was 0.6 of a second slower than that. I would not be surprised to see maybe even the Miller trucks come down this time.
Yeah, that's enough that they should be able to grab at least a few of those positions, but they're going to stay out on track again. Every lap that they stay out, Connor, these are positions that are going to be lost to the Weishart Racing trucks.
Yeah, I would think so. You don't want them to get too far out to the point where you might not be able to catch them, because this is the ideal pack for speed, about 5 trucks. This is what you want. If everyone pits at the same time, you get a big pack of trucks like the lead pack is right now. You're not going to go as fast. So I would not be waiting on this right now. I do not want them to get too far out, but I do understand that you probably don't want to. You probably want to take the least amount of fuel possible, so I get that. But sooner or later, you keep losing tenths at a time. You got to make that decision. Although Fontaine was faster last time by 51.6, and then trying to look at what the 33 did, or at least what the 5 did. They were slower that time by, or no, they were still 6 tenths faster.
Yeah.
Here we go. Pit stops. Here come the Miller trucks. Maybe more.
JT's down there with them.
Whoa, Beckner. He made it somehow.
They got it down. So this is going to be interesting because when these cars blend, we're going to have the 31 gets tagged.
And Wineland. They both spin out on pit road.
Wow.
And that's what you couldn't have happen.
I was not expecting that. That was not on my bingo card.
Missed his stall. Is Kane missing? Oh, this is Dylan Lee trying to get to his box. Just turns the 31 into the 21. Dylan Lee's still trying to get in his box. He's lost so much time.
Yeah, Wineland just a victim in that one. That's unfortunate.
Gosh. That is going to kill those 3's races without a yellow.
So this is the question, though, is where do these trucks come out? And here comes the Weishart trucks. Look, they've already done what they needed to do here because those were some of the leaders in that previous pack, and they blew right by them.
Here comes the rest of the lead pack, minus Gary Waterworth, who stayed out on his own. That's the last thing you could do. Scioli's in this pack as well. And then Bell, Fambro, Therian, Bourne, and others. But yeah, those Weishart trucks are going to get the advantage for sure, as all these drivers trying to remember where they're stalling. Scioli got hit. Is there going to be damage to that truck?
Yeah, a little unruly. Probably too many trucks to have down in the same sequence. But I'll tell you what, those Weishart Racing trucks have set themselves up for success. The rest of the drivers are rolling off pit lane. Here come the leader, or the drivers that we think will cycle to the lead. They're mid-trade now, as Brad Slaughter will be the dart that they're going to fire into the board here. Scioli rolls off, and they're going to get driven right by, I think.
I think so as well. And this is the strategy we saw. This is what we did on Monday night to keep that lead and get about 25 seconds on the pack. You have everyone swapping out, but you keep the same driver at the back of the line. At this point, it's Bobby Tinch. He's the collector. He just stays at the back, and whenever the pusher gets hot, the guy getting pushed goes out at the end of the straightaway or wherever, and then the 66 would then pick up Slaughter in this case. And I would not be surprised if this is what these 4 do as well, but they're not as formed up currently.
Well, they can get that formed up, and then the question becomes which team is better at it. 20 laps to go. Waterworth's down on pit lane. Ben Pierce is out there in a separate pack all on his own with Shane Wolf and Brewer and Nowicki and a couple others. But Brad Slaughter Jr. will cycle to be the leader of this race. Then it's Weishart Racing versus Miller Racing. Who can execute this the best in the next 19 laps?
It's going to be tough. Another 51 flats, 50.9s from the Weishart trucks, but even faster with Miller Racing by half a second just about. And the issue with this is Bobby Tinch is probably a little too far back to be the collector. You can't give that much of a gap. It kind of hurts the run you get down the straightaway with the momentum with those only 3 drivers pushing. So I think those Miller trucks are going to be there in no time flat, but the question is where they're going to go with it, because they are 195 down the straightaway. Matheson, I don't know if he was getting out of the way or almost got turned, but either way, he was squirrely there, but they're way faster than the group ahead.
And here comes the last of the outliers here, 27 laps on their fuel tanks. Okay, so here's the next question, as Garrett Grant is going to lead us around to 18 to go, is once that Miller Racing pack gets there, is that just going to, are we going to light the fire here, or do you think they're going to work together to separate themselves from the rest of the field behind?
18 to go. I think that it's kind of tough to say. I think it's close enough to where you're probably going to race it out once you get there. I don't think you have anything else you can do. So they get there, I think all bets are off. I don't think you're going to be working together. As look at the run they have.
And Becker's getting a shove from Matheson. Here they go to the outside. And look, is that the 4 that jumped up there?
0-9. And they went to block that run, but it's just too big to block. As they're going to go to the 3rd lane. Weishart and Senesac tried. They couldn't do it. Beckner, Matheson, Poole, and John Hall, they're going to fly by.
Travis Beckner enjoying the high as he gets the shove, and he is going to take the lead away. 17 laps to go. Where did they come from? Miller Racing with the big shove.
They should get all 4 trucks basically clear. John Hall is clear now. Looks like Poole and John Hall are going to stay in the middle so they can control both lanes, which is a smart thing to do. That would force anyone else to go to that 3rd lane to beat them, as Beckner is going to go to that middle lane and give Matheson a breath of fresh air to the nose of that car. But then here comes the next drivers who pit later, and Sogak, Bell, Fambro, Bourne, all the way back to Rodriguez are going to join as well.
So we're going to reform this pack with 16 laps at the stripe to go. Travis Beckner leads, getting a big shove from JT Poole. Jake Matheson controls the bottom lane with Garrett Grant and a bunch of DWR trucks behind him.
And now it's a little bit more thin. 17 trucks in this pack, with the 3 that wrecked on pit road plus 1 other losing this pack. Now it's all bets are off. You're racing. You're still trying to help your team out, but at this point you're going for the win with 17 to go. And we talked about it earlier, that 3rd lane, it's going to clog up in a hurry. You need to be one of the first people up there, and Tom Bourne could be the one to do that.
Yeah, 2x2 Miller Racing trucks here effectively at the front and blocking both lanes. This is a strong position to be in because you're controlling both opportunities. They're going to basically give DWR the outside, though, if they continue to drop everyone into the inside.
And JT Poole goes slow racing as well, but he's been working with Miller Racing
effectively. That's why I said effectively. Because he's basically been their teammate tonight. Whoa, oh no!
Man, then he almost got turned for it, though. That was close, as now those Weishart trucks get a run. Senesac is going to push John Hall to the lead, and that kind of threw all their plans off, I'd say.
Yeah, that was a big wiggle there for JT. He managed to hang on to it, but that was a big moment. 15 laps to go.
That really scrambled things up. Cameron Hearn's 4th in line, but he is now 1 lap down, so he's actually in the battle for the... He's not really in the battle for the lucky dog because he has no one else to battle, but he's up there trying to help whoever he can.
Well, he will have someone to battle here shortly because I think Adam Capps and Nowicki are about to go a lap down.
Capps is now, Nowicki not too far away. Bourne goes high while they're lapping Capps. Nope, that's Rodriguez. Either way, they get by him. That really scrambled things up, and Miller Racing kind of lost control, and now they're going to have to regain it. Senesac up the track as they're not pushing well between the 0-9 and the 8 of Slaughter.
The Senesac in that upper groove fends off a block from the 0-3 of Hall. He gets put in the sucker hole. JT goes back to the lead as Senesac goes to the top side with assistance from the 8 of Brad Slaughter Jr.
That's enough proof that you know those two are not going to play ball with the Miller trucks. They are not going to put up with that. They're going to put them in the hole, and I'm kind of surprised that Beckner didn't try to go up to help the 0-3, but John Hall had a big enough a gap where he could get behind his teammates, so it's kind of where they were anyways, as the push-ins get really aggressive now to the point where it could end badly.
Is there a 3rd lane that might come from another group that's in the back here? There's Joey Chapman in the 60. Looks like he wants to go somewhere.
you would think it's got to be Scioli and like Tom Bourne. Those guys, the ones that need the win, need that to happen.
Sucker hold. Maybe
nope,
not.
Slaughter's going to go with him.
Oh, that was...
He's going to dump his teammate out.
That was surprising. That was really surprising. 13 to go.
Wonder if they know Cameron Hearn's going to work with them. Poole's going to get back in. Miller Racing 1, 2, 3, 4 on the bottom again, and Hearn does stay with the 0-9, so Slaughter gets back behind him, but they let the Miller trucks get back ahead. Lacatus almost clear of the 0-9. They're going to go to the middle, and once again, they'll control both lanes.
Yeah, they are just masterfully controlling this race right now. I think that was a mistake on Brad Slaughter's part to not follow the 0-9 around the 26 and destabilize that more. They're going to take them 3 wide now, and now they're all, I guess, well, maybe it worked out. They're 1, 2, 3, 4 in that upper groove.
Could work out. Garrett Grant, Weishart, her in the lap car helping the DWR trucks. So they'll get the run as Hall and Poole are kind of on their own with no help. The 77 not close to him as they're lapping Nowicki, running the apron. He'll stay down there. They'll get through all clear.
Ooh, that was tight with Jason Dalton come out of the pit lane. Jason Dalton. And honestly, Nowicki was doing the right thing there, getting on the apron.
He just wrecked. He wrecked Rodriguez coming back up, though. And he's going to spin. It's under the yellow.
No, we're good. We're good. We're still green.
He's still wrecking. We'll see what happens if he comes rejoining, but he is off the track now. But that was a big mistake by Nowicki, and it's taken Matthew Rodriguez out. But meanwhile, Senesac's going to lead the bottom, but now they're all mixed up. You got Beckner pushing the 0-9.
I was just about to give Nowicki credit for getting out of the way, but then he got kind of squeezed with that car coming out of the pit lane, and then he didn't have the opportunity to bail before turn 1, and then he got into Rodriguez. So that was trying to do the right thing and ended up doing the wrong thing, but that's hard.
And he has reset.
Yeah, can't hit the disappear button, can you?
Here goes Poole. He's going to get the push from the 8 of Slaughter, so we'll go 3 by 3, taking 11 laps to go.
Let's ramp it up now. Only 1 yellow. History dictates that we'll have at least 2.
Have to wait and see. Now Beckner, Senesac's going to try to block it. Blocks him to the wall. Now we're going to be 4 wide with the 0-3 in the middle top. Big bump from the 26 to the 28. And now we're getting that 4x4 action. Scioli's pushing Jacob Bell on the bottom middle.
No way this works. You can't do this for very long. Jacob Bell trying to squeeze through the middle of...
Got to be careful if you're Senesac.
Oh, Scioli there as well. What a mess.
Oh. Chapman, now we're 4x4. This is 2012 all over again, but... yeah, you think it wouldn't work. Beckner and JT Poole are going to try to stay ahead of all this, but we're going to stay 4 wide. Luckily, we're going through a tri-oval. You can make it work easily here, but it's going to thin right back out as the 8 and 5 are going to be the big losers here.
10 laps to go. 4 wide for a couple rows deep now. 3 wide for the front. And I think now we finally got it settled back out. That was unbelievable. JT Poole's in the middle. Beckner on the bottom. Senesac up high and some lap traffic to contend with. It'll bail out of the way. That's the 40, I believe.
Tyler Brewer, yes, as that really did not work out for Brad Slaughter. Garrett Grant, they lost the big track position that they needed. Now they have to somehow regain it. And now they've left Senesac kind of on his own here with no team help. And now Miller Racing still strong up here with at least 3 trucks. But now you got Jacob Bell, Scioli, Fambro, new players now inside this top 10.
That 77 always is in the mix here in the last 10 laps. How does he do that?
Just kind of magical, I would say.
Here he comes, middle 3 wide. Going to get squeezed there with Hall. And there's some trucks coming back on the racetrack, and the 77 gets turned.
He saved it for now. They're going to save it. We're going to stay green at the front. They're 3 wide for the lead still, and James Scioli, through all this, is in that 3 wide for the lead.
He's maybe the worst nightmare for everyone that's in the playoffs. If that 7 gets in, it could be game over. That's how good Scioli is, but he hasn't had the season to back it up thus far. We know the challenge will be there if he's in the playoffs. He's going to give Senesac a shove into turn 3. He drops to the bottom ahead of Beckner, coming to 8 laps to go out of turns 3 and 4 here at Talladega.
And the problem with Scioli is he's not getting enough of a push from Joey Chapman, so that middle's kind of stagnant. That 3rd lane's probably going to get a big run through a tri-oval. That's Hall and Weishart. Hearn's still playing ball and making changes up here at the front. But that middle at the top did not get the run I thought they would, and Scioli's going to lead that lap.
And this is the HelloFresh 212, and we've had our fair share of hearty meals served up today. It has been an interesting race with strategy and teammates working together in 3 and 4 wide. And we're now just about 5 minutes away from crowning a winner if we don't get a yellow.
That's a key word, if. I would say very key. But either way, someone out of this pack you would think is going to be the winner regardless, unless they all crash each other, as this lead pack's now thinned out to about 14 trucks, plus maybe 2 lappers as well. As now you got players at the front who are kind of desperate for the win. Scioli definitely one of those. Bryce Senesac, he's 20th in points. He needs this win as well. As now Weishart almost looked 4 wide, but now we're starting to see some drivers in desperation are going to go to battle here.
And even when we get to the white, it doesn't mean the chaos is over. It just means we can't slow down and try again.
Just means we have more, if anything.
Joey Chapman in the 60. Look at him jumping into the middle of that middle groove.
He's missed a few starts. He's not had a great season. He's had a lot not go his way. He could rectify that with a win here, but he's only in a position to push at this point.
Colin Fambro, we haven't heard from all night. There he is in the 18.
He came into tonight about 22 off the cut line. He needs help as well.
Basically, everyone that's not green in the top 10 could get in with a win.
Pretty much, majority. There's some outliers there that maybe it won't be the case, but yeah, pretty much everyone else who's white and in this pack right now are top 20, and a win would get them in, besides maybe the 60 of Chapman. As looks like Senesac gets clear. He and the 7 are going to battle this out, I would think, for this win, and try to keep it between those two. Because those Miller trucks, only 2 left now in the Beckner and Matheson trucks, so they don't really have the numbers that they had as they come up on a lap traffic line.
Yeah, that's what concerns me, because it's a few more trucks. The energy has died down a little bit here at the front of the field with Senesac and Beckner leading.
Watch Beckner here. You see him and Matheson are clear. They're getting in front of the 7, and Senesac tries to block. They can't do it as this lap line's going to stay on the bottom. And Skyler's going to go with those 2, and Tom Bourne, where's he going to go? Going to get stuck behind lap traffic here. This could be the crash right here.
Oh boy, into turn 1. Yeah, the Senesac kind of got schooled there. I think he had the opportunity to go up and block, but he didn't do it decisively enough. And that will give Beckner and Matheson the top spot again.
Now we'll see what these two do. Does Matheson come up the block or keep pushing a 28? It's Beckner that's going to block. The 7's going to push him, and those two come together.
There we
Chapman's
go.
And there it is.
Scioli's in it. Barely. He's going to straighten it out.
Oh, that's got to come out now. There it is. Caution's out.
Caution out, and 5 to go. Bourne's in it, and they finish it down here at turn 3.
That was about everyone but maybe the top 5.
In a weird spot where we got a kind of a camera black spot down here, but go back and look at it. We're going to get a green-white checkered. Of course we will.
Those are Larry Mack trends. Told you.
Yeah, okay, so it starts with the 60, I think. He gets turned into the outside.
It really starts with Beckner going up to protect the middle. Scioli does not lift off him, slams him here. He gets pushed by the 09 into the 60, and then it's on from there.
Yeah, Scioli.
Look at Matheson just get through that, but Joey Chapman does not. Neither does Bryce Senesac.
Yeah, then
Huge
the 30.
hits.
Watch the 33 here. Weishart gets clobbered later by some of those lap trucks that they were going by. That was Ben Pierce. 33 far left here. Not a good situation for DWR either.
Oh, yeah, a lot of big hits there as well. And then Slaughter gets hooked at the very end up ahead right there.
So I thought the 7 was going to get worse off than he did.
He's pretty damaged. The front looks decent, but it's still dinged up, and the rear is really caved in.
It's going to have to come.
I think so. And everyone's good on fuel, even with this green-white checkered, so majority will pit with damage, but the drivers who were kind of off the pack will stay out. Jacob Bell and JT Poole get maybe a second chance, because they'll be able to restart right inside the top 10.
Yeah, Jacob Bell in particular, that was very lucky, because he was trailing in an entirely different pack after getting separated out from his collision earlier, which we have now a moment to take a look at. So we will.
And out of all that, it's Dylan Lee who gets the lucky dog, because kind of what caused that chaos was the lead pack. But yeah, this is what didn't bring out a yellow. Looks like Senesac crowded Bell into Poole, and they somehow kept it straight without coming up.
Great job, actually. That could have been a lot worse than it was.
In the view, JT Pool is just going to get crowded here. You can see the 09 just coming down, coming down. You can see Jacob Bell working the wheel in there.
So we're only our second caution of the night. We can only now have a third because the next caution would end the race. And now I like being in Travis Beckner's position because if the caution comes out, usually you got enough of an advantage from being the leader on the restart that you can just kind of hang on to it, at least for the first lap after the restart, which is the only time the caution can come out.
And we've seen it so many times at super speedway finishes in the past where we'll have a green run, a yellow will end it, and then on the ensuing restart, you will not get out of turn 2. So we kind of reminds me of Michigan where this was the case, except there's not tire strategy this time. But it does remind me of Michigan where you could have a last lap crash, cause all sorts of chaos. Yes, that caution light might get a workout just now, so we'll have to be looking at that. You can also see the flagman way out in the distance if you have good eyesight. But yeah, this is going to be important for those two to get out in front and just, you know, if the yellow comes out, one of those two win, it's all good and fine and dandy.
Well, you are going to be in overtime here in the Area Truck Series regular season. Race fans, be sure to check out rickshotsauce.com for some of the best hot sauces made locally in South Florida. Try the Loxahatchee Classic, Golden Garlic, Palm Beach Pineapple, or South Beach Heat. Follow the Rick's Hot Sauce Rookie of the Year battle in the Area Cup Series and see which driver will take home the $100 prize as the highest finishing rookie in the point standings. And winter is here. Bundle up this season with shop.areaiRacing.com and shop from our new selections of champion hoodies, jackets, and sweatshirts. Easier to shop, quicker to ship, better to wear. That's shop.areaiRacing.com. And you're on twitch.tv/areaiRacing. Make sure you use the code !HelloFresh and get your coupon code to save 50% off your first box of HelloFresh. All right, doubling up. Connor, how do you win this race? You're Jake Matheson or Travis Beckner?
Well, since you're teammates, you're going to try to control the lines. This happened with me and Jeremy Miller last night. I think the main point where we went wrong is that we didn't get bumper to bumper. I think that's Cup specific though. If you're bumper to bumper, get hooked up, you can go fast. It's not really how the trucks race though. I think the best thing these two can do is restart side by side and try to control both lines side by side. It's going to be a little bit too early. The restart's going to be only 2 laps. I think it's going to be a little bit too short of amount of time to get a third lane going. I don't think you'll see Anna Sogak, Fambro, Poole. I don't think you'll see any of them really pull out to get out from behind either Beckner or Matheson. So I think the way those two can control this field and win this race is just by controlling the bottom middle lanes. I think as long as they do that, they should be good.
Well, all of that easier said than done, of course, and that is the challenge of Talladega. Quick reminder before the restart, this was your point picture coming into the show. There's a whole bunch of drivers here that could steal an opportunity into the playoffs. That 77 of Jacob Bell absolutely could do it. Colin Fambro could do it. He's going to restart 3rd or 4th here. There's a lot of drivers.
And
Garrett Grant and Sogak.
Sam Fontaine will be 10th.
Yep. He's
12 back. But yeah, there's still a few drivers at the front that can really shake up a playoff picture. So even JT Poole right there, he is nowhere near safe. He needs to hope no one new wins this race.
2 laps
himself.
2 laps left here, just over 5 miles at Talladega. 5 miles left in the regular season for the Area Truck Series. Travis Beckner and Jake Matheson are the control trucks on the front row. Green flag, 2 to go from Talladega.
And they will do what me and Jeremy didn't do. They'll just time it out. Beckner gets in front of the 52, and I assume if that 18 or that just anyone leading that middle lane gets the run, they might block it. Garrett Grant goes up to the middle. He could use a win to get his way in as well. Matheson not willing to block it. He can't block it because the 5's there.
Garrett Grant did a smart move there to jump up with the 18. There's the block from the 28. He's going to get turned off the nose.
They didn't wreck yet. Garrett Grant's going to take the lead out of this, but he's got no help.
John Hall's going to have to blend. They're 3 wide for the lead. Here comes Beckner back. Wide. No way we make it through 3 and 4. Whoever's leading this at the time of caution is going to win this race.
Banging doors. They're bouncing off each other. There it is. There's the crash. Travis Beckner, or is it going to be JT Poole? They were dead even when the yellow came out.
Caution. Race is over.
I feel like Beckner might have gotten it. It was close, as they're still wrecking. Another big hit. Gosh.
Travis seems to think he got it.
I think Beckner might have gotten it, but it was by inches. Kind of saw that coming all the way from turn 2 to turn 4. I don't know how they made it that far even.
Well, let's go back and have a look at how that all went down.
It started, it looked like the 18, they wrecked even behind them too with Waterworth, but it was Grant that spun in front of the field.
I mean, they were wrecking in 3 different places here, so.
Looks like Grant and Beckner and...
So the 5's probably what triggers this. And once again, the 28's still leading here. And you'll note, we're still green. There's the yellow, and there's the 26. But this is that, again, that the yellow in iRacing is triggered before the caution lights come on, which is the source of ultimate frustration. You know, JT was ahead at the time of yellow, but it's not how it's scored.
Those time and scoring loops will really kill you. It's just always a case of discussion at Talladega. No matter at Talladega, Daytona, Atlanta, just everywhere. It always happens is time of yellow. I even look back at it, looking at the pace truck, and the 26 was ahead. But the timing and scoring loops that iRacing uses, it's gonna get the 28 the lead. And even then, Sam Fontaine was well in third, but it looks like it's gonna give Matheson third as well. So Travis Beckner not really a part of Miller Racing, but almost a pseudo 1-2-3 for them again.
Travis Beckner wins at Talladega. JT Poole gonna come up short.
I'm sure a lot very unofficial results as they'll sort out if anyone got black flags, because it's so difficult to get back in line when a yellow comes out that late. Just doing basic math, Poole's definitely going to be in because he was on the cut line, finished his second. Jacob Bell's going to finish 8th. He should be pointing in. I don't think we'll see anyone get their way. I don't think anyone got their outside looking in. I don't think anyone made it in. 88 finished up in 7th. I think the 12 we started the night with are going to stay in that top 12.
Makes things easy. Again, here's the yellow flag. I mean, to be fair to Beckner, he was ahead this entire time the crash started. Right about...
If the 2's ahead...
Here, he's ahead now, and the crash is happening. They're sideways. I mean, this, if the caution was triggered immediately as the 5 turns around, then the 28 did win, but it didn't trigger until at least this point when the 26 was leading. But once again, this is a conundrum in past seasons, so the rule was decided to always go by iRacing scoring to eliminate any variables, because the computer never lies. It just has a different system than I think we all would like.
Yeah, definitely. It's always confusing when you can clear, you know, because the way we see it, you know, when the yellow comes out, the pace truck's lights come on, you got a different driver ahead. So obviously, we're always going to think that it's wrong, but it just depends on what you use. I'm sure at most racing series, I mean, for the longest time, NASCAR still used timing and scored loops. I think as far as declaring winners, they do go off of who's ahead, but it depends on the racing series. And iRacing, they've had these time and scoring loops. It's never been an issue. It's never broken anything when I say it hasn't been an issue, but it's always going to spark discussion regardless.
It certainly will. Here's a look. Travis Beckner, top of the board. JT Poole, second. Jake Matheson, third. Sam Fontaine, fourth. Mason Kane, Valiette, Anna Sogak, Jacob Bell, Sean Peachin, and Brant Slaughter Jr., your top 10, Kyle.
And Sogak and Bell should be safe on points. Well, it could have been for Sam Fontaine, who finished 4th. Had that gone green, he was in position. He could have battled for it, but just 3 spots short of a golden ticket to the playoffs.
And looking down the rest of the order, how about Danny Ware? We didn't really talk about him at all tonight. Ends up 11th. David Weishart got through that mess at the end. Somehow ended up 12th. Matthew Rodriguez, 13th. Casey Licata's 15th. Eric Wineland, remember he got turned around in that late pit stop sequence. He ends up 18th. All things considered, that's not a terrible result.
He will not playoff race, but he had internet issues at the very beginning that plagued him. He could never really recover from that, but he did get back to 18th. Waterworth needed a win, couldn't get it, 14th. Danny Ware, like you said, didn't talk about him, but he gets 11th. And Bryce Senesac, who was at the front, needed a win, involved in the second to last crash and couldn't recover. And then just outside the back half of the field, Bourne, drivers that are going to miss the playoffs, Bourne, Swan, Caps, Shane Wolf could not advance. Garrett Grant, Colin Farrenbow, and obviously the most shocking one of all, James Scioli, 30th place, 2 laps down. The reigning series champion, dominant last season. He will not race for a title this season.
He will not have a chance to defend his title. That's the biggest news probably out of the tail end of that. But there's a look at those that did not really get to have the result that they were looking for. Cameron Hearn down in 36th. Tyler Brewer, Michael Curhan. Good thing he was locked in because he needed it. As we finish up here, let's talk with a couple of our front runners. JT Poole ends up second in all this. And JT, we saw the tail end of that race. We saw the caution come out. As always, the timing and scoring didn't agree necessarily with what we saw, but we know the rules. You're P2.
Yeah, second sucks. It's not right, second. It's probably the most painful one, but, iRacing timing and scoring, nothing we can do about that. I think we were ahead at the line, but, or not at the line, but when the caution came out, but we always go iRacing timing and scoring, nothing we can do about it. But yeah, kind of sucks. We ran up front the whole race, and we were definitely one of, if not the best leader in the field. Yeah, it really sucks. I hate that we couldn't get this Sunny South Chevy in the victory lane, especially at a track that I love so much. I love this place. I love super speedway racing. I always think that we're a contender here, and at Daytona and Atlanta, and we haven't won there yet. We've only won once, and we have had so many opportunities. So, yeah, that one really sucks.
Yeah, a little bit short for the 26. JT, good effort there. Put yourself in all the right positions, but it's Talladega and doesn't really pan out for most people. Unfortunately, you were not the one to get the checkers tonight, but we look forward to seeing you continue to race at all the series, and best of luck to you next week.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jake Matheson comes home in third in this race. Jake, P3. It was a full team effort tonight to get up near the front and stay there as much as you could, but didn't come up with another victory, but you didn't need one. You were locked in, so it was all fun and games for you tonight. P3 and P1 for your team. It's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. I was so glad we were able to get some green flag racing in there. I love super speedway green flag pit stop cycles. It's just one of the most satisfying things you can watch from a broadcast perspective. So I love those. Yeah, really good race, really good team effort. Just a great way to cap off the regular season. Looking forward to getting ready for the playoffs next week. Bristol. I'm really excited for Bristol.
Oh, short track racing. That'll be fun. Jake Matheson, third place tonight in the 52. Jake, thanks for talking.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Just real quick before we go, I want to thank Calusa Pines, Celsius, Area Shop, Alien Gear, Huckett Films, and Miller Racing for everything. And let's do playoffs, baby. Let's go.
We'll see you next week in Bristol, Jake. Thanks for talking.
Thank you.
When I say I'm not excited for Bristol, I'm not excited to drive it because I suck there. I'm excited to watch it, but Monday night's a different story.
Well, Travis is struggling. We'll give him a second to sort out his situation. He was giving the cat some celebratory pets and knocked his camera over, but there he is. We'll chat with him now. He's climbing back in the seat and celebrating his second win of the season in the Area Truck Series. Travis, aggression is the name of the game here, and tonight you were able to snag another one, your second on the season, at a pretty opportunistic time at Talladega right before the playoffs. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm very excited about this one. Second super speedway win of the year. I'll take that. Yeah. Thank you for Timing Loops for helping me out there. JT definitely got me. I don't know how he went back to third, but that was how Jake got back to third. But yeah, Timing Loops got my back this time for once, and yeah, that was awesome. Us leading pretty much the whole race, right there on the backstretch, getting loose. I don't know how we didn't crash right there. And at that point, I was like, man, how am I gonna lose this another way?
Yeah, this is a pretty wild moment. What's running through your head on this last lap, and how did you keep this thing straight? Because this is a crash, Travis. You somehow came out the other side of this and won this race.
Yeah, I got pushed on the left rear. Nothing against Garrett. He's racing for the win as well. We all are. At that point, I'm like, oh no, like I said, how am I going to lose this? I got to get back by him. Before the caution came out, because I thought they were wrecking already on the backstretch. And then I saw JT coming up on the outside right here. I'm like, oh, JT's going to have a huge run out of 4. Now, I can't do anything about it, but yeah. And then coming out of 4, they started wrecking. and we'll take that. We'll take it any way we can get it.
Well, you're in the playoffs. The team had a very good day as well. Jake Matheson finishing in third right behind you. Focusing now on Bristol next week, how does your focus change from grabbing wins and getting into the playoffs to now having to execute on going to win a championship?
Go win more races. That's all it is. Go win more races, get in the championship, and go get my first championship instead of getting second for 3 years in a row.
Well, it's simple enough. Travis, best of luck to you. Thanks for talking, and congratulations.
Before I go, I'd like to thank my sponsors, Calusa Pines, Area Shop, Celsius, Huckett Films, everybody at Miller Racing, Alien Gear Holster, everybody at Low Dollar Racing. Y'all taking time out of your day to come broadcast this. It was a fun race on my end. I don't know how it looked on y'all's, but more people that I got to thank. Everybody at Go Slow Racing, JT Poole, Eric Wineland, and Dylan Lee. We were working with them tonight, and definitely worked out the end. Oh, pace truck drifting.
Yeah, going for a slide there, Travis. Congratulations. We'll see you next week. Enjoy this win.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Connor, wrapping things up here from Talladega. I really enjoyed these races. They go so much green. I just wish we could get a natural under green finish, or we could just have a bit more of an understanding of how that finish is selected, just so we know and can contribute to the excitement at the end without being left in the dark. But fun race. Talladega is always a fun time, but it's playoff time now.
It is playoff time now, and yeah, we wish we didn't have to assume how it scores. Maybe a forum post just asking someone would really fix that, but yeah, for sure, always comes down to this sort of thing. That's 4 seasons in a row for the Truck Series at Talladega, ending on a green-white checkered, and last season ended under green with a crash, this season under yellow with a crash, so a little bit of a different story, but Travis Beckner still coming out on top for, I believe, his second win of the season, only the second multi-time winner, or third multi-time winner, I believe, this season, and all 3 are Miller drivers, so it's kind of hard to bet against Miller Racing winning a driver's title as well as the team title, which they already have over a triple-digit lead in hand. But yeah, like you said, playoff time, it's going to ramp up big time. Last driver in is going to be JT Poole on points, unofficially 14 points above Sam Fontaine, who came oh so close to winning tonight. But playoffs are getting time. It's going to ramp up the aggression for sure. We're going to get especially aggressive next week, as I believe all 3 series are going to go to the half-mile Last Great Coliseum in Bristol, so that should be very interesting.
And one more race at Talladega this week as well with the Florida State Builders Area Pro Series. And with that, the Hello Fresh 212 is over, and goodbye. We'll see you on Thursday for the Florida State Builders Area Pro Series, the last race in the regular season, right here from Talladega.